name is Steve Droy and I'm the tuner for Islington Pianos in North London. I've been tuning for 25 years, and today I'm going to give you a quick and brief demonstration and explanation of what to expect when you have your piano tuned. Firstly, the tuner will need to access the inside of the piano by removing the front panel, and then the other piece there is called the fall. This is removed to expose the strings and the tuning pins. As you can see, the first thing you'll notice when you look inside the piano is that unlike other simpler stringed instruments such as a violin or a guitar, the piano has lots of strings, about 230 steel strings all strung across the frame. And what you notice is that every note of the piano is represented by its own string or strings, unlike a guitar or violin where you shorten the length of the string to make the different notes. And this has important implications when one is actually tuning the piano. Now, the art of tuning the piano is basically very simple. The point of it is to make the intervals between all the different notes sound as pleasant as possible to the human ear. But going back to the time of Pythagoras and the ancient Greeks, it was discovered that if you tune notes in a natural way, or a just tuning, that there is an anomaly which is built into the system. And this is due to technical reasons to do with the length and the thickness of the strings, which I won't go into now. But essentially, if you start with middle C and tune a cycle of fifths from there, so the C and the G, the G and the D and the A, by the time you get back all the way around to middle C, those two notes will sound out of tune with each other. And this Pythagoras called his comma. And at that time, a system was developed to take that anomaly and to proportionately divide it throughout all the other intervals in the octave, so that none of them sound too bad, so that they're all acceptable. And this has become the universal way to tune pianos, and in fact all modern musical instruments use what this is called the equally tempered scale. So the first thing is to check the overall pitch of the piano, and we'll see that the dial is not quite up to A440. So there you see the string is now at the correct pitch, and then we can turn off the tuning machine, that's no longer required. And now the tuner will build the tempered scale, and this is done by comparing all the different notes and all the different intervals and setting up beats and waves which can be heard, and that enables the tuner to make sure that this equally distributed tempered scale is correctly placed between this octave. And starting from the F to the A, there should be an audible beat of around 6 cycles per second. And as you go up the thirds, the very, very last one between the C sharp and the F, it's a flutter of about 12 per second. So down here you would hear something like tra-la-la-la-la-la-la-la. By the time you get up to the very last one, it's quicker, tra-la-la-la-la-la-la-la. And just by using the ear, the tuner sets up by comparing these beats and waves and fluttering, so that all the possible combinations of the chords sound as pleasant as possible to the human ear. Now, of course, as I said before, every single note is represented in the majority of the piano by 3 strings, so as well as setting up the tempered scale, one has to do the unisons. So that means that when you play one particular note, you don't hear 3 strings playing, they're all tuned so finely together that in fact all you can hear is one note. Then the tuner will go over the whole piano and start to duplicate the middle tempered octave over the rest of the keys. So working your way up the piano, you'll tune the octaves beatless all the way to the end, and beatless all the way down in the bass. Now the other thing to consider is that there's something, another anomaly, a phenomenon called octave stretching. And this is caused by what is known as inharmonicity. And that means that the harmonics, or the partials, which are given off by each string, do not adhere to mathematically perfect criteria. So, for example, A is 440, the octave above should be 880, the octave below should be 220. But in reality, depending on the length of the string and the thickness and the stiffness of the piano string, this 880 might be 881.26, and then 220 might be 218.32. Now this doesn't matter to the tuner because he's using his ear to tune the octaves beatless. If you were using a tuning machine, you would have to individually calibrate it for every particular piano, and it means that, especially on smaller pianos with shorter, stiffer strings, in reality, that every octave you go up and down is slightly stretched compared to a grand piano with nice long loose strings. So in fact it's impossible to tune a small upright piano like this to a large grand piano, because you would start off in the middle, and as you worked your way up through the octaves you would find that the two pianos became out of tune with each other. Everything we talked about so far has really referred to the sound of the piano and the listening aspects of tuning a piano, but there's another very important thing, which is the turning and the skill and learning how to set the tuning pin, so that when the tuner has finished and gone away, it doesn't all slip out of tune again within a week or so, which can happen when you've had your piano tuned badly. Now this is a tuning pin, and this is bound into a plank of wood behind the frame with holes drilled in it, and it's purely the tension of the wood around the tuning pin which holds 25 tons of strain across the whole piano. So when you turn the tuning pin, you'll notice that it's like a large spring. There's a lot of force pulling back on that pin the whole time, and you have to go past where it's in tune and gently take the pin back best, and then set the pin. You have to hit the note hard, and this sets the pin in place, and hopefully will hold it reasonably in tune for a period of about 6 months. So when your piano is nicely tuned, all the different intervals should sound pleasant, should be consistent all the way down to the top of the treble and to the bottom of the bass. And ideally, under normal circumstances, the manufacturers would recommend that your piano should be staying reasonably well in tune for about 6 months. Now if the piano is older, this may come down to maybe 4 months. Also, if the piano is played a lot, the knocking of the hammers onto the strings will send the strings out. So pianos in professional settings, for example, would be tuned every time the pianist stops playing. Some music schools will have them done every 1 or 2 months, it really depends. And when you have your piano, you must try and keep it away from radiators, from any source of heat or damp, up against a nice interior wall, away from doors, bay windows and conservatories, stuff like that. And that should keep the piano in good running order. If you have any questions about anything I've said to you today, you can contact me via my website, which is islingtonpiano.co.uk. Thanks very much.